Okay. We're hopefully going to have a lot of guests tonight. We have some additional people. I had sent out a potential slate of candidates for the ballot, and then some other people. I will followed up with them, and we have some others who might also be interested. So there might be at least 2 or 3 more people who might be on the ballot for the board too. So
sure.
Lots of people. Okay, so who all is here? Do we have? Who are we missing?
I think I'm here.
We're missing
I'll check.
Valerie's going to be about 15 minutes late, so we're going to have her go a little bit later in the agenda.
Yeah, other than that, I think we're missing Alan.
Okay, cool. All right, well, we'll go ahead and call the meeting to order, and thank everybody for attending tonight. We have a whole bunch to cover. We have quite a few guests, so I was just going to go around the room technically and kind of introduce ourselves. I think most of you know who we are, but just in case there's some people who are going to be attending, who are guests who are considering joining the board and they wanted to see how we work. So I'll start. I'm Tracy and I'm the president, and so I kind of run the meeting, and I'm the one, Julie and I have been the ones contacting all you guys to see, hey, do you want to run for the board? And
I'm Julie, I'm the secretary and also a 1200 Club coordinator.
and we're both volunteer coordinators. Yes,
And both volunteer coordinators, yes.
Mark?
Mark, VP of Race Operations.
Cool. Daniel?
I'm Daniel Brewer, a dual Solstice director, past president, and yeah, some other things.
Jack of all trades. Margie?
Margie Pomrose, former president of ORRC, and other duties as assigned, membership, those kinds of things. So,
Yep. Cool. And Charissa?
Sorry, I'm eating dinner. My name is Charissa Young, and communications volunteer, which I did in the past 2017, 2018, and have done since end of July again.
Cool. And we have a whole lot of guests. I'll start with Kim Kodak.
I don't want to start. I don't know what to say.
Just what you're doing right now with the club and what you're interested in possibly doing.
The only thing I'm really doing is that I'm a member of the Foot Traffic Run Club on Thursday nights, and I got recruited to pay for the pizza on the first Thursday of the month. But other than that, I've got invited to try out for the board, and I am here checking it out.
Cool.
Nicki.
I'm Nicki Halen. I am volunteering to help with the website, and also put my name in the hat for the board as a member at large.
Andrea?
Hi, I'm Andrea Artman. I just thought I would join in and see what this was all about. Thank you.
Thank
Cool.
you, Andrea. Ryan?
Hello, I'm Ryan. I'm one of the race directors for the Hag Mud 25K and 50K. So I'm just watching, kind of gleaming off everybody.
Cool. Thank you, Ryan. Adnan?
Hi, I'm Adnan, and nice segue, I suppose. I'm a former volunteer at the Hag Runs, but I am joining today to check out the meeting and hoping to throw my hat into the ring as assistant treasurer.
Cool. Yay. Susan?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
My name is Susan. I've been helping as a race volunteer probably for, I don't know, several races a year for the last 10 or so years, of course, with the exception being during the pandemic, and have been a member of the club probably for, I don't know, 15 or 20 years, and have always enjoyed doing the 10K series. I'm just trying to see what's going on and throwing my name into the hat as a possible member at large.
Thank you. And Joel.
My name's Joel, and just currently a member, volunteer at some of the races, and interested in being a member at large, maybe down the road with a race director position as well.
Awesome.
Cool.
Well, thank you all so much for coming. We do have a whole bunch of stuff to cover, so I will go ahead and get us started. The first thing you do is approve the minutes from the August 22nd meeting. And Julie sent those out earlier. Did everybody get a chance to read them? And do we have a motion to approve?
I move that they be accepted as presented, please.
I second the motion.
Okay. All in favor of approving the minutes, please say aye.
Aye.
Raise your hand. Yep. Okay.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Minutes are approved. Great. Thank you. Treasurer's report was next, but Valerie's going to be a little bit late, and so we're going to save that for a little bit later. So let's go ahead and recap Best Damn Run. Mark?
Yeah, Hal's not here. Is Hal coming, do you know? I mean, I can do it.
I
Okay,
did not
anyway.
hear he was, I did not hear. I don't know.
Okay, cool. Given what we were given, it went well. I mean, it's the short version of it. The particular details, we had some things to work around. Literally, the gates were not unlocked this year, so instead we rented a gator, and Ken had a fun time driving the gator around and helping out with that. Also, we found out on Friday night that the potties had been dropped at the wrong end of Faraday Road, 5 miles from the start. So I had an emergency call to get those put in the proper place, but they did get there. In terms of the overall experience, I mean, just positive things. People enjoyed it. It went well. We need to talk more about the half, but the people that did the half course liked it. Then the half course. Catered food, the burritos were adequate to my taste, and I would, for the amount of money we spent on it, not worth what we spent on it. And I'm glad that, in the future, I mean, I'm not totally in favor of having food at events, but not this particular company. I was not impressed by all of that. What else? I guess the other big thing we need to talk about is the, like it says in here, the half marathon, what to do about that. The numbers were low, as it says.
Mm-hmm. I think the numbers were low, one, because it wasn't really marketed a whole lot, and we were competing with a Run with Paula event on the same day, and I don't know if we're going to compete with them next year as well. But my thought was, go ahead and give the half marathon another try next year and see what the numbers do, and if they still stay low, we can always drop it in the future. But for next year, see if we can have a better go at it. What do you think?
I agree. I total agreement. I think we need to give it at least give it one more year, push it, and new event, you never know, but give it 2 years. If it still isn't making it, or it isn't at least significant improvement, then I mean, the 10K works. We know that, and I think we need to get the half marathon one more year, but I think it's worth it.
Okay.
So, an agreement on that.
Anybody else have an opinion on that?
Just briefly, I mean, going back to the Old Man Orc, I remembered when we picked this race up, it was a 15K, and it started at Promontory, and it was awesome. So it's one of the prettiest courses we have, no matter what the distance. So I don't think we really have to, as long as we get the service road, which used to be the main highway. And as long as we get the service road and get to run along the lake for several miles, it's really a good race at any distance.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we just need to sell it better.
Just one question. Was it? I know that this year we just did the 10K challenge series. Do you think next year would be part of the half?
We're changing the half.
The series, the 10K series and the half marathon series are going to change drastically for next year. So what we're going to have is it's a 5K challenge. There'll be 4 5Ks. There'll be a 10K challenge, and there'll be 5 10Ks, and there'll be what's called a 10 mile or longer challenge, and there'll be 7 of those. And you won't have to register. It's just any ORRC member can do it, and anybody who completes all of them will get a prize at the end of the year. So we don't have to worry about pricing. We don't have to worry about swag or registering with a special code or anything like that. So it will exist, but it will be different. And that's going to come out in the next newsletter. Not the next, the next newsletter. Okay. Okay. Hey, how's it here? Okay.
Yeah.
Let's see. So, okay. We also had a race director meeting, which I thought went really well. And Ryan was there. And basically went over a lot of different things. Mark has some proposals that he'd like to present to the board that we also talked at the race director meeting. Do you want to talk about the race director meeting, Mark?
Well, it was two purposes. One was an in-person meet and greet and eat, which you've not had in a long time. I'm tired of Zoom calls, so it was a joy to be in the physical presence with other people and socialize and just all of that. That was just a pleasure in and of itself.
Yeah.
Beyond that, we, like I said, focused on how we do things at ORRC, or at least, and I won't go into the weeds on that, but just to make the new race directors feel welcome and let them know, that they're not alone. Most races this year will have co-RDs, and everybody has their strengths and weaknesses, and whatever people aren't good at, just let the board know and we'll find somebody who's good at it. We want the RDs to succeed, and I think that message was clear. So.
Cool. Yeah. And I like the idea of having in-person meetings at some point, if it's not every month, because it's hard for us to get around and out to different locations. But I like the idea of having like maybe every 3 or 4 months having an in-person meeting so we can actually see each other face to face or something like that. I think that's a great idea.
Yep.
Okay, we have some upcoming events. Duel is first. Daniel, do you have any update on how Duel is going?
It's ready to go. I mean, we've got everything ordered. I don't have enough registrations to put a shirt number together, so I'm gonna take the numbers you guys sent out for Turkey Trot and do some math and just throw a dart and order about 40 shirts. And so those are ordered. I decided to, since the old design for the ribbons came from a company and using a process that are both obsolete, I went to my old friend Lisa at Award Specialties, and she kind of showed me what Mark's been doing, and so we're going to kind of do the same thing. And I was just going to order first place ribbons and have them be mismatched. And then I thought, you know what, let's just do it now. So we're going to spend a little extra money on awards. But if you guys know me in that race, I recycle the awards forever. So we will have a good stock for next year. Probably we may not have to order them at all next year, but if we do, if you go to the same place over and over, I mean, Award Specialties are so good. You can just pick up the phone and say, we're doing it, here's what I want, and they'll just say okay. So we're going to be starting over there. The shirts are on the way. I just got the insurance certificate today, and all we really need is publicity and get some runners. I'm going to put a video together that we can have posted on the Facebook page and wherever else I can do it, and even my own probably personal Facebook page, just to get people to know that the race is going to continue. And we're going to celebrate 50 years. The shirt is a parody of the old Portland Marathon shirt that everybody hated. And so it's going to be absolutely worth the $15, I can tell you.
I got one.
I mean, it's going to be awesome. And finally, Green Layer got back to me. I was really concerned that wasn't going to be a good partnership, because I kind of left it with them and I didn't hear a thing. Nobody was returning calls. And then she called me yesterday and said, here's the story, we're good. So I'm just right now looking for people and hoping for some good weather. I've never done this race in the fall before. It's always been the dead of summer, and we always worry about weather the other way. So the only times we've actually in the last 10 years had to postpone this race 3 times twice for heat and once for smoke. And so then we postponed. We did not have it 2 years of COVID. We did do it once in COVID virtually, where we had like 12 people, but it cost us nothing. And we had I was hoping to keep the string alive, but I didn't want to have the 50th anniversary be that way. So, but we're good to go at Catlin. I'm going to put the bug in their ear for next year's date, although I doubt they're going to let me get on the calendar before January. I'm also going to be reaching out to the Hillsborough School District for Hare Field. One of the reasons I wanted to move it back 2 days into July instead of August 1st is because August 1st is when soccer and football all start, which means the tracks are less available. So the one place I still want to hold this race someday is Lewis and Clark. I just don't know if I'll ever be able to do that because that's where they hold the state championships now. And it's just a beautiful place there. But we've got 2 venues we really like. We've done races there before. And I would love to do a race at Hare Field that would be below 90 degrees, but I can't ever guarantee that. But the race is going good. We need about a dozen volunteers, maybe. And I said cupless, and it's going to be cupless, but I'm going to buy cups because people are not going to, first of all, not going to want to do it. And second of all, this race is one where you grab a cup of water every lap. So
we have silicone cups in the garage, so there's cups available for you to use.
And there's non-silicone cups in the
And
garage.
there's non-silicone cups in the garage too, but there's cups in the garage you can use.
Okay, so
there's thousands of cups in the garage.
There are? Okay, so I have to buy
Yes.
I have to buy none then, right?
Don't have to
Right.
buy. Please don't buy cups.
Great. I will not buy cups. I am hoping to load the van up probably Thursday or Friday evening. It's not going to be a van, it's going to be my truck, and I would hope that people will respect the fact that I'm a minimalist when it comes to equipment. We only get 2 vans or two vehicles on the service road. But Hal knows last time he helped me on it, they do let you drive another vehicle up there, drop it off, and then move it back. So
Yeah.
that'll be Jeff and me. And hopefully I get everything. I have a pickup now, so I can get everything in my pickup, hopefully. But I'm ready to go there. So when I get close to the race, I will get in touch with Hal or somebody and see if they can guide me through where everything is in the locker.
Garage.
I
Yep.
haven't been there for a while, but that's really the only thing. And Jeff Huber's on board, and we're all good.
Cool. Turkey Trot, Mark and Hal, how's that going?
We're gonna get our act together. I mean,
we're getting together 10 o'clock Monday morning.
Dave Cook's been out of town. Hal and I have been busy with BDR and garlic, and now things are just quiet enough. So the 3 of us, we're going to sit down Monday and divide up responsibilities, make sure everything is planned and ready to go. At this point, got really 2 big decisions to make. One was the question of whether kids get their shirts for free. Dave Cook's kind of the institutional memory on that, and so we decided that we will offer shirts, not for the short tot trot, but for the kids doing the 4-miler will get a free shirt. And so that's a big decision that we made. And the other one is the issue of cups, and we're going to have discussion of cups later. So I will save that. We'll talk when we talk about that. I'll bring up the subject about cups as it relates to Turkey Trot. But
Mark, can I interrupt real quick? So the tots
Sure.
the tot trots do not get a shirt, correct?
Correct. The way my understanding, what Dave said, is that it's kids who do the 4-miler.
Okay. Okay.
That's my understanding.
We'll fix the website then.
Because that's my understanding, and this is the thing. That's why it'll be good on the 3 of us sit down on Monday. We'll get all of this hammered out. But it's on schedule. I mean, we're in touch with the zoo. We got city permit. The rest of it's going good.
Good. Thank you. Back to Mark 2, Ralph's Run, which is formerly
We changed the name. We're adding, it's essentially the same run. Well, not because this year the course is different this year, but it'll be the funny distance, 20.24 kilometers. We're adding a 5K. Changing the name. Working on a new logo. The first one is it's only going to get better. You can always tweak it, but we're getting a new logo for it, and it's going to be very nice, I think. I just have a kind of a quick question for the group. For the 5K, because I've got for that 3 options, and I just want to get a quick bounce it off people, runners, walkers, if you have an opinion on it. For the 5K, we can do an out and back where they do 1.5 miles of the last 1.5. They can go out with everybody else for the first 1.5 miles and turn back to the start. Those will both be 5Ks, in either direction. The third one, because I was trying to find a loop 5K, and I found a loop 5.5K. It's just quirky enough that it would fit. If we're having a 20.24K run, maybe a 5.5K would be quirky too. But people, it's going to be just a little bit longer than 5K. So, and I guess I just wanted to bounce it off people to what you thought. So they like the 5K, the last part of the course, the first part of the course, or the odd distance. Yeah.
So the second one, Mark, don't they have to, when they leave and they're running the last part of the regular route, there's that big hill. They run down the hill and then they have to run back up the hill.
Correct.
Yeah.
I like that.
Oh, you like that?
I think everybody should run that hill.
Well,
also,
you're a
running the other
taskmaster.
direction. Running the other direction, it seems like that has more holding the traffic up longer.
It does. But that's a trade-off. But on the other hand, it's like the 5Kers are they're kind of alone the whole time. They do their entire, other than the first 1/10 of a mile, the 5Kers are all by themselves. And that's why if they go the first part together, then they're together with people at least for the first 1.5 miles. And then the loop is just kind of like, quirky thing. But
So,
I
Mark,
don't know.
there's that trail that's along the highway now and cuts then into kind of a park area, wetlands. Is that part of that loop that you were talking about?
It's part of that, yeah. The wetlands usually flood, so that appears part of the trail is flooded, but it does use part of that trail, yes.
Okay,
That's
or
what the loop will
Avenue
do.
B, whatever. Yeah.
It uses part of that loop, yes. So
I feel that since the race is a quirky distance, the 5K is just fine being a quirky distance. I love that idea, and I would love to throw out there the idea of naming the 5K after Carol. We have Ralph's run. We have Carol's 5K. I don't know if she'll want to do that, but she was as much as part of this race as anybody else was. So
okay.
So anyway,
what I'm hearing is,
I love the quirky distance.
Susan, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, as a newcomer, I shouldn't, but as a person who's run the race about a dozen times, I think it'd be great to make the 5K people run down that hill and back up it.
Yeah.
We all have to suffer.
We all have to suffer.
All right. Okay. What I'm hearing is it's okay. It's my decision, but I do appreciate your input in helping me make that decision. And as soon as I do decide, I'll let you all know. Thank you for that. Thank you for the input.
We are putting the race calendar magnet together. So if it's going to be a quirky 5.5K, just let us know so we can make sure we get the right distance on the calendar.
I will decide ASAP.
Okay, thank you. We had a quick question about the award banquet, which is in January. Primarily is we have some people who are winning both the overall male and female and also the masters male and female. And I don't remember if winning one disqualified them from winning the other, so we spread it out more. That's what my memory is telling me, but I
That's
wanted
true.
to confirm with you guys if that's what we did. So we'd had different people winning the award instead of the same person winning everything.
But
Exactly.
the problem is when you get in, for example, into the 10K series and the half marathon series awards,
Everybody's masters.
everybody's a masters. So if you were going to exclude all the overall people from winning the masters division, we're going to have to go down like 7 or 8 people.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean,
as an RD, I encountered that situation, you know, where the open winners are masters, and we always say, no double dipping. You know, you get an award, then second place becomes first place. I mean, that's the way I do
Right in
it
the
for all.
locker room. Okay, we'll do it that
Yeah.
way.
Yeah.
Cool, thank you. Okay.
I mean, check with Joe. I mean, he's probably been in that position a lot. And
Yeah, Carissa, check with Joe.
find out if Carissa just left oh, Carissa's there. Great. If Carissa's there, see what how Joe's thoughts are on that, because he's guided me before on that.
Okay.
But because if you're a Masters runner, which one would you rather win? So I mean, that's the other thought is, hey,
yeah.
He usually thinks if he gets overall, he should not get Masters also. Occasionally, very rarely, he does get awarded both, but he always says that's messed up. But I can confirm with him later.
Okay.
So he prefers the open winner. If he wins the whole thing, then he will take the open first place and let somebody else win the Masters.
Yeah, if you want to.
Yeah, that's kind of what I thought. Okay, thank you.
Cool. We'll do that. All right, we're going to backtrack a little bit now that Valerie's here. Welcome, Valerie, to the treasurer's report. And for a lot of you, I sent the profit and loss. We were discussing that a little bit, Valerie. There was a question about what we paid on an annual basis for storage. And I thought it was in the 30,000 range. Was I too high?
Yeah, it's quite a bit.
How much per month it is for both units?
Let me find it here. I've got. I just have to fix these. Storage. I've got. Let's see. I need my glasses. So we're almost at 27,000. It looks like.
Okay.
Through this point of the year. So yeah, we're gonna be in the mid-30s at least. So
yeah. Okay.
It's quite a bit. And I mean, what Bonnie said was right. It's one of our hugest outside race expenses. Yeah. So it is something to look at. So I could start there, I guess, with the profit and loss, and we're looking at cash basis. So right now for the year we're at minus oh my gosh, I wish I had glasses. Sorry. Oh, well. Anyway, we're at minus just over minus. Yeah, we're just over $50,000 loss, but that's somewhat to be expected because we have Turkey Trot, which is our biggest money maker, and then like all the revenue from Y2K comes in at the end of the year.
Yeah,
we don't get much Y2K after the first year, a little bit, but not most of it. So there's the two of those things kind of making that look worse than it will hopefully look at the end of the year.
Yeah.
And then really quick, well, I'll go to the race revenue. So we've done pretty well. Actually, the races this year have all fallen in that, like we wanted them to make a couple $1,000s ideally. So it looks like most of them did, except for Summer Solstice, and as you point, and garlic, was its own little thing, say. Yeah. But obviously the food was the big cost, and then on Summer Solstice was also that cost for the zoo. That was almost $6,400. So that was
which is why we're moving it next year. So
yeah, it's that. I mean, I just love that we're going to make it the laid back, fun little summer thing it used to be. So and then what happened with garlic with that food is because of the last minute finding out we had so many people and having to order food, we had to pay a premium on top of it being a catered thing. So that really added up. On best damn run, I think I've got I've got the timing, I've got the bibs, I've got the flaggers in there, so I think almost everything's in there unless there might be something else. But so on the race report, if you got it, if it's highlighted in blue, that means this isn't completed, because it's like that where there might be additional expenses. But I think we're looking really good for best damn run, which is really nice to see. And oh, I wanted to mention while we're talking about the races, it just came across my thing, but we do have to report personal property. So that's basically, do a tax report. It'll be on March 1st. It's got to be filed, but so it's all the stuff in the storage unit. And I did find an old list, but at some point before March 1st, I just want to throw it out there. If I could, we could have a couple of us do an inventory of the storage units. It would be a good idea anyway, but I think there's things on there that aren't in the storage units, my point. And so,
we've gotten rid of a lot of the extra swag too, because we were giving stuff away at SDM run. So it worked.
Yeah. So I want that to be more accurate.
Yeah. We have yet to schedule, we have an annual garage clean out, and I think that we could, when we should schedule that before the end of the year. And when we schedule the garage clean out, we can do inventory that same day.
Yeah, that'd be great. That's perfect. And then on cash, we have just over 314,000. The Wells Fargo savings, there's like over 162,000, and I have to double check, but I think that's making like pathetic interest. So that's for a future discussion, but I'm gonna find out what that is. And I'd like to talk about maybe, looking at what we really need to have. All this money's fairly liquid, but like I think some of that could go towards like a 3-month treasury bill or CD or something where they're making like around 5% right now. And if we could even make a few $1,000s, it's well worth it, to do that. We just have to figure out what money we can tie up for a few months and where we're at. And so that's just for future discussion, but a thought to throw out there. And that's all I have for right now.
For those of you who are visiting, one of the reasons we have a bunch we have, what was it, 120,000 in investments. We had 162,000 in savings and another 30,000, checking, something like that. The reason we have so much is it's for a nonprofit, especially, it's good to have about 2 years worth of operating expenses in reserves in case something happens. So like if we had to cancel Turkey Trot because of ice or snow, we would still have money to carry the club forward without losing everything. So that's why we have that reserve fund there. So
it came in handy during COVID when we were hosting.
Used it during COVID for sure.
We were supposed to host the RCA convention, and so that was really handy. When nothing, of course, we could do about that, but we had to eat the money, and so it was good that we had it. So.
Yeah, and the other famous story is the Turkey Trot that got canceled, and that's our big money maker. So anything can happen, and I think the past few years have taught all of us that. So
yeah, for sure.
Adnan has a question about how long did it take for us to get that. It happened over 20 years, I think. Tracy and Julie, you guys can answer that probably.
No, I'm sorry. No, I apologize. I just mean in terms of that amount of savings, how much road does that sort of represent as far as, if Turkey Trot had to be canceled? Is this enough to carry the club forward 2 years or 1 year or 3? I guess that's what I mean. Sorry. I could very much imagine that it's been a lot of work to amass that level of security.
Yeah, I'd say it's probably 2 years plus.
Yeah. It depends on what we spend in any 1 year, but I would say good 2.5 at least, depending on. We're planning on spending some money this. We're planning on spending some money this year because we have to buy like new water jugs and new signs for the start finish. Those flags that we were doing, we need to get some new ones, and so every now and then
some kind of sound system that works.
Some kind of sound system. We're researching that. So. Okay.
We've been trying to get a sound system solution now for as long as I've been involved. We've never had a great sound solution. At one point, it was Dave Green's karaoke machine. So we need to get past.
I will say at Best Damn Run that one of the volunteers had a speaker and we had music at the registration area at the finish line, and it was just awesome. And it was really tiny. It was only like this big. And I just thought, we need to do something like that. So. But Valerie's researching that and got some information from Dave and Prala from Portland Running Company. So that was really helpful. Okay, so the finalized 2024 event calendar, we sent the dates off to Jeff Huber. So we need to open up registration for these as quickly as we can. But and a lot of them already are open. Ralph's Run, which is the 20.24 5K and 10K is January 6th. Hag Mud is February 17th and 18th. Shampooey is a 10K, 20K, and 30K, so it's no longer a half marathon. It's back to the 20K that it was before. That's March 2nd. Vernonia half marathon, and quad relay, April 14th. And I think all of those registrations are open now, correct?
Correct.
Is Shampooey open?
I do not know.
Okay,
I don't think it is. I don't think it is.
Definitely is. Okay, so Valerie, you and Helen may want to work with us and make sure we get that one going too. Then Hag Lake Road 5K, 10K, and 10.5. That's back. The summer solstice is moving. It's going to be, it's named after Dave Green. It's Dave's Solstice Run at Blue Lake on Thursday, June 20th. Duel will be back on July 23rd. Garlic Festival 5K, 10K half marathon, same August 3rd. That's going to be the week before the Garlic Festival instead of the week of the Garlic Festival. So we don't have to close the course and we can go back to the old start finish area with the old course. Better situation for parking and awards and everything. Best Dam Run 10K and half September 14th, Turkey Trot on Thanksgiving. Those are our 10 events. And then we'll have the race director workshops May 4th and October 5th. The appreciation banquet is going to be January 27th, the member awards banquet. And the member volunteer picnic will be July 4th. So that's our big calendar for next year. And we're going to start working on the magnet. So we can get that out to people. So the next item to discuss is Cupless. And the big question I have, looking at the survey results for the last 2 events and talking with both volunteers and participants, I think not so much for the longer distances or the trail runners. So I think the longer distance runners, the half marathoners, are used to carrying their own water things, but especially for the shorter events, our participants are not liking the cupless policy. And I totally understand why we want to do it. It's great for the environment. I love that photo of Mark with the one trash bag. But some of the stories we heard from Garlic, people who didn't have cups, we had cups at the aid stations, but we ran out because people took them and then they were throwing them away. And so people were not having anything they were pouring the pitchers right into their mouths or into their hands and stuff. It just isn't a good experience for inexperienced newbies or for racers if they're trying to get a fast time and they don't want to stop and get their cup out and have it pour. They want to just go. So I think for the trail runs have been cupless for years. I have no problem keeping those cupless, but I think especially for our shorter 5K and 10K events, and we're trying to add more 5Ks, we need to do something differently. Whether we can encourage it and we can still encourage people to bring their own, but I think we need to rethink it. And my thought was, let's have cups, but have them be compostable cups. So they don't go to the landfill. They just, do something kind of like you did, Mark, at Y2K, where you had the biodegradable utensils and biodegradable plates and stuff. I just think we need to do something different because what we're doing isn't working for a large number of our participants. So what do you all think?
How did I get? This is important to me. I believe to me, it's about we should stand firm, and there's a learning curve, and I think given enough time, people will learn that. That's in general my opinion to keep that. And 2 things about that. One I mentioned earlier about Turkey Trot, because that would be an opportunity. We're expecting about 2,000 people for Turkey Trot, and we have over 2,000 cups that are already paid for. So if we declare Turkey Trot to be cupless and give away 2,000 cups. So that's going to get the message out there. And because I think so, and I guess that's sort of a proposal, because I don't want to make a unilateral decision to do that as an RD. I want to get feedback from the board. If we make it cupless and give away all those cups, because that'll send a message about that this is important.
I think one of the things that we need to think about, Mark, is in transitions. As I think Tracy was pointing out, that a lot of racers are trying to go as fast as they can, and usually they grab a cup, squish it, and then drink it as best they can. But I think the compostable might be a good transition cup item, while we're encouraging cupless, have cupless options available for them. Even hand canteens, maybe that would be a good member giveaway instead of those silicone cups. Because I mean, I've had one of the races give me a silicone cup, and I was like, I'm not using this. I'm going to carry my hand canteen, or I'm going to wear my vest. So the silicone, I think, were just a nice thought, but I like the idea of compostable as we transition people, encourage it, try and have more people set that example of hand canteens, those kinds of things. So I think that might be a good transition way.
I think it's
you want to be.
Yeah, I mean, I hear what you're saying about Margie, but to share with you an experience from Vernonia. This is maybe 4 years ago, the very first time I decided to go cupless, and I said I'm going cupless, and the board said, okay, go ahead. And then they got a lot of blowback from people that said, hey, you're cupless, people are freaking out, and you better give them regular cups. And so okay, I'll give them regular cups, and it ended up being just we ran out of paper cups because too many people said, oh, we're going back to paper cups, I don't need this thing. And so the problem was, in part, was a confused message. And I think, it's like, if we say we're cupless, that's a clear message. If you say cups will be provided, that's a clear message. If you say, hey, bring it if you want, then as an RD, it's hard for me to prepare and plan, because I don't know how many people are going to do one or the other thing. And I run the risk of running out of something because I don't know what people will do.
But we have like 2,000 cups in the storage room already, right? It's
yes,
cups
we do.
we maintain all the time, not just per race. So I think I as a racer, I like the transition idea. There'll be times when I don't want to carry my hand canteen. For a 5K, I wouldn't want to carry a hand canteen. I wouldn't stop for water either, but unless I was having a problem. But I think for the newbie, might be very difficult. To
for me, and my experience is both when I was a fast runner and now as a slow runner. As a fast runner, I would not want to have to stop. That's if I'm going for a time, there's no way I want to go. I want to fumble with a cup wherever I put it and wait for it to be filled. As a slower runner, I'm paying to be supported as my run. I don't want to have to carry all the stuff that I usually carry on a training run, like a water belt or a vest, because I'm paying to run a race that is supporting me and supposedly getting me what I need to get through the race fast or for as an experience. That's my 2 cents. I'd rather go just total combustible and just offer that for everybody and just say, I appreciate that we want to go cupless, but I just don't think for a 10K or a 5K or, it's just, I just don't agree with it.
I think I hear what Mark is saying. There's a mixed message. I totally understand that. And I think part of that is we wanted to go cupless. And so we did, and we sent all the members a cup in the mail, and then we provided these reusable cups at all the races. But I think over the 4 or 5 years we've been trying to do this now, we haven't been consistent in getting instructions to volunteers who are passing out the water. And we haven't been consistent in getting the message out clearly enough to those who are registering. I mean, we are sending out emails, but like when Mark sends out a message for this is your pre-race instructions and it's 3 pages long and the Cupless thing is in the middle, people miss that, or they just don't read it at all. And so I think our communication to the participants hasn't been what it should be. And our training of the volunteers hasn't been what it should be. So the experience isn't what we wanted it to be. So I don't know if we need to make a concerted effort this year to make it work, or if we want to do the transition of, let's say,
well, see, here's the issue I have with that: the transitioning to what and when. I mean, that's kind of like you get paper cups for 1 more year and then not anymore.
Yeah.
Kind of, what are we? Where and when are we transitioning to? And then it's like, again, it's about putting forth a clear message, clear and consistent message. And you're right, it hasn't always been that way.
So I'm pretty close to where Margie's at, but I think, and I was gonna hit on the messaging. I think it should be like, especially in Oregon, we all love our environment, and it's like we please promote it big time of please be cupless, and then but I think we still have to have those cups for people that don't expect it, but make it bold, let's protect our beautiful state and go cupless. But then there's still going to be people that are not going to do that, and so I think it's kind of like maybe it'll be a transition forever until people start accepting that that's the accepted way to be at a race. But that's kind of more where I'm at, like try to push it as much as possible to make that the acceptable way to be. Just like most of us walk around now with our water things. We don't, most of us don't buy bottled plastic water anymore, right? I mean, sometimes you do, but for the most part, most of us walk around with our reusable water container now. Reusable water, make it like that.
Yeah.
But make it big on the,
Yeah, the silicone cups, though, I think is a very imperfect, not a realistic solution.
And my concern is what you said, I'm not fast anymore, but when you're fast, you don't want to stop there and fill up you can't really set those out, I don't think, like a paper cup. So people could just grab them, I don't know what you do, you throw them away anyway then if people just threw them, right?
And what happens
people that are really fast need to be supported, and they don't have time to waste 20 seconds.
There's 2 kinds of cups. Of course, there's one that's kind of the squishy kind. You've seen those, and there's other with a little ring. And the idea is the little ring goes around your finger, and the idea is it weighs nothing and you forget about it. I've done this where I've run.
It's not the running with it, Mark. It's the stopping to get the water. Like if you're just grabbing a paper cup, it's a second or a half a second.
I think that's the biggest issue. If you have a half a dozen people all approaching an aid station at one time, all wanting water, and you have 1 or 2 volunteer pitchers pouring, it's going to be problematic. And I'm just trying to make sure that every runner who enters or walker who participates in our events has a good positive experience and not a negative one at an aid station where they're forced to stop, or they forgot their cup and the aid stations run out of cups or whatever. So we just need to find a solution that will make sure that, yes, we can be environmentally conscious, but we're still providing a positive experience. And I don't mind if we want to keep doing the silicone cups and keep ordering them but to say that we're cupless, it's not that we're cupless, it's that we're using reusable cups. So we train them not to throw them on the road. Maybe we have a bin that goes past it so they can grab their cup, they can be filled with water, and then we pick them up and clean them. We were cleaning up cups that were left or something, but or compostable cups, so that there's cups, but it's environmentally friendly cups and not. I think we just need to figure out some type of a compromise or solution that works for everybody.
I also feel as a volunteer that Sometimes, well, I haven't been at one yet in which we had an excess of volunteers. And when we don't quite have enough, I think we'll tend to leave an aid station without volunteers and just put the water there. And that's where it kind of falls apart. And
Yeah,
then they have to stop.
Typically at the aid stations, we have 1 or 2 volunteers. We don't have a whole lot. So if you have not that we have large events right now, but if we have even just a half a dozen people coming at the same time, it's problematic trying to fill all their cups at the same time.
It's a little stressful.
Yeah.
I think if you were going to encourage going cupless, it would be encouraging people to run with a hand canteen.
Yeah.
The silicone cups are just imperfect.
Yeah.
And but that's my 2 cents. So, and then maybe the messaging is, if you are want to be concerned about our environment, run with your hand canteen or your vest, hydration vest. But we will have compostable cups available. I would encourage that kind of a message.
Okay, that's something we can decide formally on next. All
Think about
right,
it.
let's everybody think about this, and maybe I'll do some research about what our options are. And for a November meeting, we'll come back and try to have a decision before we start the 2024 calendar.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you, everybody, for voicing your good opinions. Let's
anytime.
One of the things was also to create a Venmo or PayPal account for purchases on race day if the races have Wi-Fi, which is a big if for some of our locations. Right
Very
now,
big. That's a very big if.
Yeah, that's a very big if.
Well, if I may, I mean, it's because this has been bounced. I mean, how can I say? The first thing is registration. And at this point, all registration is online. So we don't deal checks. We don't deal in cash. If people want to register, they register online, and that's set. The issue is with hey, do you got any extra shirts? I'd like to buy one, kind of thing. And over the years, the policy has been different ways. In some years, cash is okay. Other years, it's not okay because you need to track it. For a while, it was promised that anything that we would sell would be RunSignUp as a platform also has a store, and that if people wanted to buy an extra shirt, they would log on to RunSignUp and buy it from the store. But that required setting that up internally. But that was never done. But that was an idea that was put forth. There were some years where if you're lucky to have Steven there, he had the little the square on his phone. And so, but if Steven left, it's like, okay, you can't do it because he's gone. And that's why somebody said, why don't y'all do a Venmo account? Then people can just, pay money to ORRC, so this is not, to be clear, the idea of Venmo account is not for registrations. That's covered online, and that's a self-contained entity. It's for, for shirts and other, whatever else for day of race. And we can have, to my mind, we can have kind of a dual policy to say cash is okay. But the preferred way would be, to my mind, be something, a PayPal or Venmo account where people could pay money to ORRC on their phone, and then here's your shirt, kind of a thing. And that's, like I know with the Valerie, your district treasurer, to have a paper trail for things. Sometimes some of your stuff has gone to the Bank of Mark's back pocket. And I'm an honest person, and I count it out and I, turn it over. But ideally, you would be able to track, and that's where Venmo or PayPal comes in as a better idea.
And some people wanted the Venmo and PayPal because they wanted to buy a shirt, but they didn't have cash, and that was the only option we were offering, was you can buy a shirt, but you have to pay cash because we don't have the. And other times it's like, well, we can't accept anything, so it's a matter of, are we selling shirts, and if so, how are you getting the payment in? I don't mind continuing to do cash if we just, because we don't sell that many extra shirts at race day, so it's not a huge number like we're selling thousands of dollars of t-shirts on race day. But the problem is when, can you do it if there's no Wi-Fi?
Well, I would ask, maybe Daniel knows, I think it would be great to set up something. I know people don't use the squares as much, and I'm not sure which the best platform. Like,
Okay, I have this Square Reader.
yeah,
It's on my phone. You can use credit card, any credit card. You can use Google Pay. You can use Apple Pay, and you can even use a phone that just taps, right? And this goes into Square on my phone. And then when I get into Wi-Fi range, it will upload and charge. Now, if somebody's got a bad card, it doesn't go through. We're not going to know that immediately if we don't have Wi-Fi. But I also have something else I keep is, let me show you this. It's on my bag here. And that is, hang on. I have a Venmo and PayPal
reader.
barcode. So all they have to do is take their phone and they can shine it on there. Again, you don't need Wi-Fi, but you do need cell service. And they can just pay on PayPal. I love the idea. I'm going to tell you, I really feel that we should not have somebody try to give us money for something because we don't have the means or the technology to take it. We need to be set up in all of this stuff. Venmo accounts cost nothing. PayPal accounts cost nothing. The transaction fees we can either absorb or we can pass them along. And the transaction fees for those Square readers, they go right to the bank account, is about less than 2%. So I mean, I don't want somebody not to be able to pay me, and I go to people's houses all the time and they're paying me for work. And this bookkeeping is awesome. And then I very seldom have to even give a paper receipt anymore. So I mean, it has so much advantage and it's so easy to do. So I feel we should just figure out how to do it. And I can show you how I set this stuff up if you want.
And part of that is, I would hope, I mean, people that are, let's say, don't get AARP discounts tend to pay that way. So.
Venmo is my most popular means of payment.
Yeah.
Venmo.
I do Venmo, so anybody could do it.
Venmo is my when they say
that's what I was asking. What's popular and what?
I'll do a signing for $80 and they'll say, so I'll say, okay, it's $80 and they'll say, so how can I pay you? I said, your favorite, cash, check, credit card, Venmo. Let's do Venmo. And I said, whip out the barcode and they scan it and I hear a cash register ka-ching and it is done. Now, I didn't make $80. I made $78.17, but we can also elect it in our account. I elected to absorb that fee. We can pass that along, but depending on how you set it up. But I don't think we should not have a way for people to pay us. Zelle, I stopped doing Zelle because it's iffy. About half the time I find myself troubleshooting Zelle. And Cash App is quirky in the fact that if you don't go retrieve your money after a certain time, it gets returned forever to the people. So it's got a really bad mojo for me. But I mean, as soon as I say Venmo, their eyes light up and they're just on it. PayPal used to be that way. I recently had a client that said, I don't do PayPal anymore because that stupid Elon Musk. I'm like, well, I think he sold that company like 10 years ago, but I do appreciate that sentiment, but we do have Venmo. So
Daniel, if we had a race director meeting when we get all the race directors coming together, would you possibly, because I, as someone who has never used Venmo, and so if I'm helping with registration or selling shirts at a race, I would have no idea if someone, can I pay by Venmo? I'm like, I have no idea how to do that. Could we possibly set up a race director training session?
Why are these people so?
Yeah,
absolutely. Super easy. You just give them whatever our Venmo name is, and they
right. And that's what I mean, like if I was volunteering, I need to know how to do that because I mean,
you can usually get what you want. Mine's at Brewer Notary. And it's, I mean, you just type it in and then, I mean, but yeah, sure. I'm happy to do that. I'm happy to do that in any meeting on a weeknight.
So,
Sure. Just
yeah,
say that-
Danny, because my question is,
Oh.
if we get paid, like at a race, someone goes in and pays, but then someone's gonna have, oh, you just need cell service for whoever to log in and see that they paid on the other, like on our end?
Yeah.
Or they could just show us on their phone, I guess, too.
You need it's going to come through immediately.
Okay, but it would, okay,
You don't need Wi-Fi. Cell service is good enough.
okay, that's what I was,
And this connects via Bluetooth.
right.
So you have to have a phone that you
We
can
have
take it.
hotspot, yeah, okay.
Why
So
don't we do this? Why
You
don't
don't
we?
need a hotspot.
You
can do
don't.
it
Why don't we
using
have
cell phone.
Daniel and why don't we have Daniel and Valerie work out for RC and figuring out how it's going to work with the different race directors, and then we can have a training at some point in the future, whether it's virtual or in person, to during the week, a weekday, so we can all be on it.
I mean,
before the season starts.
one of the concerns I have day of race now is cash. We're doing everything now online, and now I'm worried that, I mean, some people are going to bring cash to the race, and Jeff Huber's got that worked out, thankfully, because I don't know how I would even do it now. So
I had that at Garlic. Somebody brought a check.
checks
And
are fine.
he wanted to register day of, and he brought a check, and I'm like,
Checks are fine. Checks are easy, but the cash, I mean, you got to keep a bank, and I don't have Diane at my race anymore. I don't have any little magic box. So yeah, happy to show you how I do everything.
Cool.
Cool.
Thank you, Daniel. Okay, moving right along. Just wanted to update you. We have wonderful people who are running to join the board, and Adnan is one of them. And we have he and Debbie Hall volunteered to run for treasurer. And Valerie did a breakdown of her position, and it really broke down very nicely into kind of two different areas. And one was the day-to-day writing of the bill, paying the bills and paying invoices and stuff like that. And the other one was more budgetary, kind of following the budgets, helping do reports for the board, helping the race directors prepare with their budgets, and kind of getting the stuff out of QuickBooks to kind of for information sharing. And so what we wanted to do was break the position into treasurer, which Debbie Hull would be doing. And then we had a couple different names for it, assistant treasurer or VP of finance or something, we'd name it. But right now we're calling it assistant treasurer, which Adnan would do. And so it would ease the load on the treasurer. Only the treasurer would have signing authority with the president and have access to the bank accounts and stuff with the debit card and stuff. But Adnan would see everything in QuickBooks, have access to everything to view and manipulate reports and stuff, and help the RDs with their budgets and stuff. So that's kind of how we're breaking that position down a little bit, so it's not so overwhelming. And in terms of the elections, I sent you a proposed ballot, but we also have another three people or so or more who have responded, who are possibly also going to be running to go on the board. So we'll have a really nice large board. I know some of you have agreed to, the current board members have agreed to stay on for a year in the transition with the newbies and the returnees or the more experienced ones, and then you would like to drop off. Daniel has said he wants to drop off, especially at the end of 2024. I think Valerie only is going to go for another year. And Debbie, as running for treasurer, she's been treasurer of a nonprofit, worked with QuickBooks before, so she can kind of hit the ground running and doesn't really need the treasurer-elect position like we thought we would need. So that's kind of how we perceive it. But the election, we're going to collect everything and then have a newsletter in October, November, I forget the timing, of kind of a meet the candidates. So we'll have everybody's pictures and brief bios, and then the election would be the week of December 4th online in some way. We're still working out how it's going to go. People would vote for 5 days, Monday through Friday, and then we would announce the new board shortly after that. The new board, the members of ORRC will vote for the board of directors. So we're all just getting elected as regular board of directors members. And then the board would appoint president, treasurer, VP of race operations, all that kind of stuff, the officers of the club. So that's how the process would work.
Two questions.
Uh-huh.
The first is, will there be a set number of positions that you're running for? Like say 12 positions, say we get 14 people run, it's like if you put your name in the hat, you're automatically elected, or are we gonna say we're filling 12 positions, so 14 people run, 12 people will be elected?
We
how's that
can
gonna
have
work?
we can have up to 20 board members. So unless we have over 20 candidates, they're going to be
Okay.
voting for everybody just to be on the board.
Okay.
I'm not going to
And-
limit. Yeah.
Okay, and the second question is, it looks we're doing 2-year terms, and it used to be in the past we've done 3-year terms. Why the change?
At this
I'm not
point,
for it or against it. I'm just curious why.
yeah, at this point, some of the positions are technically 3-year terms, like president is a 3-year term, and treasurer was a 3-year term. And we kind of broke it down. If you remember the description, it was going to be 1 year of treasurer elect, and then 2 years as treasurer, or 1 year as president elect, and 1 year as president, 1 year as past president. So it's basically a 3-year term. So it's basically a 3-year term. 3-year terms. And so because I don't need to be a president-elect, and Debbie was not going to need to be a treasurer-elect, I just put it in for the 2-year terms. So right now, everybody is on the ballot for this coming election. And I just kind of broke it down between the current or previous board members will have 1-year term. So they would all be expiring at the end of 2024. Everybody else would have a 2-year term. So they would not have to be reelected at the end of 2024, but we might have a new slate of people who want to join at that point to replace the people who are leaving, or whoever who doesn't want to run. They would run for a 2-year term at that point. If we have a president-elect candidate, they would run at the end of 2024. So they'd be president-elect during my final year. So we'd have kind of a rolling thing. I don't mind a 3-year term, but I don't want to overwhelm people in the board, the regular at-large positions. I don't think you need to be 3-year. I think more it's the treasurer and the president that needed to be the 3-year terms for consistency and training.
Okay, yeah.
My thought is burnout is a real thing.
Yeah.
And I think 2 years is, and if you like the job and love it to death, then you can do it again.
Run for reelection.
And I even think we should be considering a limit, just because of what we experienced in the last several months. But on the other hand, I look back to when Margie and I were president, and when we were both board members before that, and we did not, neither of us had a year where Diane Bemrose was not the secretary. And I'm not going to tell Diane Bemrose she can't be secretary because she was 6 years here, because she was awesome at it. But she's the exception, not the rule, because I always got minutes after the meeting. But the point I'm making here is we might have exceptions, but you should be able to, if you like the gig, want to keep it going, then sure, let's go ahead and let you do it again. My question to Julia and Tracy, and I've got to remember too, we are about to update all of our bylaws. So what we're doing now is based on rules that may not be in place next year, correct? So my feeling here is, do we elect the officer positions, the half a dozen officer positions, however many there are, from the existing board of directors, or can it be any member? For example, let's say I'm on the board and I want to elect Joe Dudman as president. I'm not going to, by the way, but I know that Joe will never be on the board. Can I do that? Can he be the president if he's not on the board of directors? 20 years ago, I did. We could elect whoever wanted to be an officer. But if somebody was a member of the board and was elected to a position, then their board position was then backfilled with the next vote position was then back in the year. So anyways, those are just my thoughts.
Yeah.
I don't think I care in the end. I just want it to be, and I love the idea of the 2 years, as long as we do half and half. Half of them they overlap 50% of them are up 1 year, 50% of them are up the next year. And then that we're always rolling through a new group. And if people like the gig, they just say, hey, I'll run again. So I volunteered to run for 1 year, one of the 1 year ones. It's very clear to everybody here, I think. I'm going to direct or help direct, hopefully with a co-director, Summer Solstice and Duel next year, which are a month apart. And then in terms of ORRC, I'm going to take a bow and run off the stage, I think, and enjoy being a member.
Yeah.
I'm also doing that, by the way. Charissa knows this, for another nonprofit I'm involved with. I've committed to being a big wig in that one through June, and I'm doing the same thing there. So I'm ready to start saying no some more. But
Well,
I want to get us through this. So those are my 2 thoughts.
And I think, Daniel, my main goal is I'm perfectly happy to be president for the next 2 years, help the club through this transitional time. I would like to spend the next year or 2 developing new volunteers, because we are relying so much on people who have volunteered in the past and burned out in the past. And I really want to develop new members and volunteers to take over when people like you and me and Margie do want to step back from this. And we still want to be members and participate in everything, but we don't necessarily want to be the leaders. And so we need to be developing the leaders from the membership. And that's why having people start out with a 2-year term, getting on the board, figuring out what's happening. I'm telling you all my secrets, guys, but you are going to be the leaders of the club in the future, hopefully, if I have my say. Don't scare them away. Don't scare them away.
It's called building succession, and every leader, every good leader, that's the first thing they do in their new role is start cultivating who's going to take the role when they're gone, when they're ready to step down. And I love the plan for the president-elect, president, and past president. It provides that ability to develop a wonderful succession and maintain. So yeah, I like that a lot.
And also, Margie and I were both handpicked as successors by our predecessors. Jeff picked Margie to be his successor, and Ralph picked me to be his successor. And that, so I had an apprenticeship. We didn't call it an elect year, but I had an apprenticeship year. So did Margie. So we were able to hit the ground running. Plus, we had good leaders to take advantage of. So anyway, I talked too much, but thank you all for letting me get my 2 points in. Thank you.
All right. Communication update. We have some wonderful volunteers taking over Facebook and website. Charissa, you want to let us know how that's going?
It's going. Jesse has started posting about Duel. I don't know if Daniel and Jesse have had any direct communication yet, but I linked them on email. We also had, Nicki here is also volunteering for a website, right? And
and Bill Hood and Dave Barnes.
Correct. I don't know if we've really gotten that much rolling yet, but
Dave Barnes, really?
Yes. But we
holy crap, good job.
But yeah, so and also yes, Ryan who's here is also linked to the Hag Mud accounts for Facebook and then Instagram. Correct?
Cool.
Yes. So we're getting underway. It's a major update.
So that's a big project that will be good. And then Charissa can step away from that as much as she wants to and work on bylaws. Which she wants to do. I'm not forcing her to do that. I want everybody to know.
It's her superpower. It's her superpower.
Okay. Closing it up because we're running out of time here. Topics for the next board meeting will be the recap of Duel and upcoming events, how it's going. The website update discussion, we're going to kind of see how that's going because we want to work on getting the website updated and getting the lots of different stuff done. So see how that's going. and an election update. I think, Carissa, you and I need to work out how we're gonna do that. Do the election, and then an award banquet update. The award banquet, we have a location. It's gonna be at the PCC Willow Creek campus, which is on the light rail line off of 185th. Nice room, has a limit of 100 people in the room, so we're going to limit that. The other thing that Mark that came up at the RD meeting, and I like the idea if we just have some generic ones. We have, the idea was to create a generic like ORRC medal for my first 10K or my first 5K. So if we, I don't know how we're going to find that out, but we would somehow figure out if somebody's running their first 5K or their first 10K or their first marathon, whatever, we would have a generic kind of medal that said, congratulations, you finished, and give them that for completing their first whatever event it was.
One idea, well, I'll say with this, they had a sash at the park run that you could pose for a picture.
Oh yes, that was really cute. We volunteer for park runs on weekends, and for everybody who does like 10 runs or 25 runs, any special anniversary, they have a little sash and they take a picture with the sash in front of the park run sign, and so that's kind of cute. And we could do that in front of an ORRC or in front of the race sign or something, and put it in the newsletter or something. So just something to recognize that somebody's achieving something. The other one that Mark had presented was the Pay It Forward Fund. For people who can't afford the race entry, we can offer a discount or a complimentary entry. And I would say if the race directors can figure that out, sure. Work it into your budget, and
We're going to talk about it.
yeah, we're going to talk about that at the next meeting. Free or discounted entry fee for high school entries. I know we have a student rate for membership, and it makes sense that we could have a student rate for high school students for our entry fees. And then the last one was as Mark put it, the DFL award, Dead Blank Last Award. We know it in Alaska that when they have the Iditarod, this dog sled race, the last musher in at the end of the race is the Red Lantern Award. And so they get a red lantern. So we were talking about coming up with a prize for whoever comes events. And the most recent one we came up with was the caboose one, where we can give them a little different styles of cabooses for every event, and they can collect cabooses along the way. And end of the year, have a big caboose prize or something. I don't know. So that's something to talk about the next one too. All right, last item, scheduling our next meeting. And what I was hoping to do was schedule our meetings on a regular time each month so we can map it out. And so I was wondering if we wanted to set a date of like the second Tuesday of every month at 7:30. Would that work for people?
Yes.
Okay.
Every weekday evening is inconvenient for me, and it's equally inconvenient, but I'll show up.
Thank you, Mark. We appreciate it. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll put that, that'll be standard then every second Tuesday, so you can map it out on your calendars. That will also tell us we're going to have an annual meeting for the members, and that will be in January. So our January meeting will be the annual meeting for members, and we'll advertise that as the second Tuesday of January. So that'll be right after Y2K.
So the next meeting, Tuesday, October 10th.
Tuesday, October 10th. And so we'll just map out every second Tuesday will be, and we can change it. If something comes up, we can always, say we can change it. But I think that will work for most of our events. Okay.
Cool.
All right.
Anybody else have anything for the good of, Daniel, you had something. Can you bring a proposal for membership? What's that, Daniel?
That was a joke.
Okay. Never mind.
It's too soon, I think. I am offering, and I've already told you guys, if we want to do a strategic planning session.
Oh yes, I forgot to mention that. Sorry.
Facilitating that maybe for the November meeting. I typically do them in 2 parts. So I was talking to Julia and Tracy about that. So maybe we do the first part in November, and then the second part February, March, after our new board is in place, and we kind of see how we followed up. Typically just do the SWOT analysis. I will tell you that the SWOT analysis looks way different now than it would have a month ago. And so I feel like we can do that if the members want us to. It's something I do in my professional world. So I'm willing to do that. And we did one of these, I don't know, Mark, 5-6 years ago, right? And I think what it ended up being was we found out we have a whole bunch of money, so everybody decided how fast we can spend it all. And we managed to do just that. So, but this is just going to be taking stock. What's the low hanging fruit? What can we do? We're doing a lot of that now, but and then that kind of sets the table for the new group to step in, and then we'll do the second half of it in a few months, if you want me to, and if Tracy and Julia are up to it. So
I think that would be a good idea. For those of you, I had to look it up because I forgot what SWOT meant. It's strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, kind of assessing everything for the club. So I think that would be a good idea. And let's see, if we did it for November, our events would all be over except for Turkey Trot, but we could basically, I think that would give us a good starting point for what we would want to do in the next year. The new members wouldn't be elected yet, but they could still be attending as guests and see, participate in the discussion and stuff too. So okay.
I will put that down as be prepared for that, and put some discussion points together for that. I think Margie had me do one year when she was president. And,
yeah.
We got one of the things we got to do was, I think we did a lot of sorting out stuff. Why the heck are we doing that kind of stuff? We got to kind of get rid of the stuff that didn't make a lot of sense. And I think it's really a good way to take a look at everything. So anyways, okay, I'll put it.
Awesome. Thank you.
Great. Thanks.
Yeah, my only question would be is this something I mean, I think it's a great idea and I had it in the back of my mind, but is this something we want to wait till we have the new board in place so everybody's participating equally?
Well, it's just a discussion. I mean, let's understand there's no voting, and most of the people who are running for the board are probably going to be, we'll let them know that it's going to be there, and it's just a discussion.
Okay.
We're not deciding stuff. We might have a few people raise their hands and take on tasks, but they're people that are going to be involved anyway. So,
well, because we have a lot of money, let's spend it is going to be the opposite of what my opinion is going to be. So
it was a result. I think it was a poor approach, and I think it kind of was this. I mean, I have a whole theory about that. I don't want to get into it now.
Yeah, no, we don't need to get into it.
I feel like if we can do the first part now with the people that had to do the triage, and then, I mean, as Margie says, we want to set the table for the next group to have success. And then the second part is where we work all of that stuff, see how progress we made, and put together some really true goals. And we won't do that till February or March anyway, probably after shampoo or something like that. So
okay, that makes sense. So the big goals will be set.
So we need to just be able to get the stuff on paper, get our thoughts out, get it down, and then I'll work on categorizing that stuff into some discussion points, and then we'll work through that a few months later. But who knows, maybe some of that stuff solves itself in that time too.
Okay.
Anyways, great enough. Thank you so much.
Cool. Thanks, everyone. All right. Thank you, everybody, for coming tonight, and we will work on our to-do list here, right? And hopefully don't scare too many of you off.
Do we have a second before you adjourn? We can stop the recording probably, but after you adjourn, and then see if our guests have any thoughts,
sure,
just to get their impressions.
Sure, let's do that. Okay, so I would do I need a motion to adjourn?
No, I think
I will adjourn the meeting. And Charissa, if you want to go ahead and stop the recording and